So, guys, definitely when AEW released the footage of the Wembley Stadium incident, it was very, very controversial, and it's had a lot of people talking in the wrestling industry, such as Jim Cornette, such as Matt Hardy, such as Eric Bischoff, and a couple of other people. And I do think that it's also important to look at what Tony Khan said. And this is from F4W Online. And he responds with this. Well, I think it made a lot of sense. First of all, FTR Young Bucks ladder match coming up at Dynasty for the World Tag Team Championship. This is the fourth chapter in FTR versus the Young Bucks. The last time they wrestled, the Young Bucks versus FTR 3 was at Wembley Stadium, AEW All In. And a lot happened that day. They were the third match on the pay-per-view, and at one point it looked like they were going to have to call them up, and they were going to have to wrestle the first match. And then they ended up going on in the spot they were in. But the Young Bucks said that the whole day, everything that happened, it really affected their mental preparation. They weren't able to pray before the match. They were very stressed out. They slipped on the banana peel and lost the match, but they blame FTR. They blame what happened at Wembley Stadium. And that's why, in hindsight, that's why they refused to shake FTR's hands. It was fascinating to see that after the and that's a quote from Tony Khan. So he and then the other thing that was also reported is that definitely Jack Perry got a huge reaction in Chicago, like a superstar reaction, and that's not something that Tony Khan said. That's what the rest of the article said. And there's a couple of things that I do want to say that I do think that what they need to do is when they have the match between FTR and Young Bucks, Jack Perry needs to come out and help the Young Bucks. That's the thing that needs to happen, and then you have Okada come out with the expensive champagne and celebrate. That's the shit that needs to happen to really sell it. If you want to have this be a match where the Young Bucks say, okay, well, we were distracted that day, we weren't able to prepare and everything else like that, and then they lose fair and square, Tony Khan is a moron, because that shouldn't be the selling point. The selling point is Jack Perry is on fire right now with the controversy. The best part of it is just the best thing that they can do is bring him into the match, get a reaction from the St. Louis crowd, and see what happens next, really. So that would be the best way to tell the story. I do think that the other issue is when you look at all of this, that yes, he's really trying to tie in the storyline that obviously the Young Bucks were not prepared because they had to deal with the issue of CM Punk and Jack Perry. But I do think that, honestly, if you want to tell that story of, oh, they weren't prepared, now they weren't prepared, now they won because they were prepared, or they lost to FTR fair and square, that's a really dumb story because nobody really cares about that. There's no emotional investment. The emotional investment would be that you would have the FTR represent the hard workers, the people who want no nonsense, and then the Young Bucks coming in as these entitled people, and now they're bringing their very entitled friend back to the company, and he's going to help them cheat in the match because obviously you can cheat in ladder matches. That would be the way to tell it. So I really think it really comes down to how is Tony Khan going to deliver from this? And I think that's very, very important. I think my concern is that having Jack Perry there would be the right move, but that may not happen. And if that doesn't happen, I really feel that they honestly crap the bed on capitalizing when you should strike when the iron is hot, really. The other thing that I have to kind of say is that that there's a couple of things in this that, okay, well, people don't know that the Young Bucks pray before matches. People did not know that the Young Bucks were stressed out that day, and most people don't see them in the EVP type of role where they fire people or they act like fair bosses or mentors. Like, they don't act like a leader, really. You never really kind of videotaped that or gave that kind of context, and you never gave the context of the handshake or anything like that, really. So if you want to emphasize these things of saying, okay, these are just people who were distracted, maybe you should do a montage of how in every match they shake hands or opponent or the winners or the people that beat them shake hands with them, or they act they're kind of like good bosses backstage, and you show that, and you kind of show, okay, well, now they gotta go out of their way and be a boss of a situation they don't like, really. So even though you're trying to establish some context within this, you've not really shown the viewers all of that, really. So it does kind of come off as what we see in AEW, that if you really want the context, you have to do your research online for it. But as I said, that I do think that as I've said, that I really think the best thing that can really come out of this is that Jack Perry should show up at Dynasty, because it is going to get a reaction. They're not that far from the Chicago era, and they're going to be, I think, Peoria, Chicago, no, Peoria, Illinois, of the night before, really. So if you want to capitalize off the video footage, and that's what they need to do, you have to have Jack Perry at AEW Dynasty, and if they do not do that, then this is all just, then this really goes nowhere. So I think that he's really trying to justify the story that they're trying to tell, and also provide more context. But to me, that doesn't do anything unless they bring Jack Perry back, really. So that's all I got to say about this.